Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Entertainment Expansion. We are your hosts, Tyler Callahan and Mike Ferrante. Mike, how you doing this week?
Well, I would like to be chilling.
Mm. Are you not?
I was just trying to do a spin off of a quote about something we were going to talk about.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, we're doing something different. Since January doesn't have that many movies coming out, we are going back to Star Wars, but we're going to some good Star Wars here with The Mandolorian. It is the first live action Star Wars TV show and is the top series for the Disney Plus streaming service. If you do not know what The Mandalorian is, it takes place between episode 6 and 7 and follows a lone Mandalorian who is a bounty hunter. And yeah, that's basically what it is. It's short season. It's what, six or eight episodes? Eight?
I feel like it's a
I think it's yeah, yeah. But Mike, what'd you like about it?
well, something I really hated about the show is that there really wasn't too much to hate. This show is the definition of what Disney should have been doing with the sequel trilogy. It wasn't anything too fancy at first. It builds characters up. I mean, you see true character progression in obviously our star, The Mandalorian. But yeah, overall, the show was just terrific. I mean, some episodes are definitely better than the rest. Like the first and the first, what
Episode
was it
three.
first, third, and the last two.
Yeah,
Those were definitely the best of the episodes. But by no means does this show really have a bad episode. There was no episode where you're like, well, this sucked.
yeah. No, I agree with you. It's the show works well because well, like you said, they did what Disney should have been doing from the beginning, in that they showed us new stuff, but it's everything within the realm of what we know. So, like the child, Baby Yoda, we've seen Yoda before, so we know what that species is. And unlike, say, Episode 9, where Rey pulls force powers out of her ass, the child, since we know the species is connected to the force and they live long, we see him do some of those same moves, but it works because they don't know what they're doing, and it shows that he gets exhausted after he tries to do it. There is basic action and consequence. So it's just stuff like that. You highlighted some of the better episodes. I mean, those are more action-heavy episodes, but even the action's pretty good, even though there's no Jedi or Sith.
Correct. I mean, which episode was it when they were breaking the one guy out of prison? That's
Six.
the sixth.
Yeah.
That one, Mandalorian goes full badass in.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not gonna go too heavy on the spoilers for this episode, but he's basically like a Batman. He is an
Yeah.
unstoppable force.
But I mean, for most of it, obviously it's just his voice. But Pedro Pascal really, even with his voice work for this, because again the mask is on almost the entire time, he does some
Yeah,
great voice work for this.
yeah. Considering the mask is on his face for 99.9
Yeah.
of the time, there was literally one scene where it comes off.
But there was one episode where he was he was at the remote planet, and he realized he had to go back, and he wanted to leave the child there, but he's heartbroken, and you can tell in his voice he's heartbroken that he has to take him with him because the bounty hunters aren't going to stop.
Correct.
And it's just, since you mostly just hear his voice, it's phenomenal acting. And the way the character's written is he can be badass, like you said in episode 6 and in other episodes, but he's very vulnerable as well. He's not a Jedi or a Sith. He's just a bounty hunter. Is he well trained? Absolutely. But he does take injuries, and it is possible he could die.
Yes, which he does come close to several times throughout the show.
And what's, again, also good is that since it's not connected to the main saga of films, anything can happen to these characters, and it's okay. So there's actual tension where, oh, they're actually going to kill off one of these characters? Because they might. You don't know.
Yeah, I don't think Baby Yoda's death is in the near future.
No,
Uh,
not now.
yeah, no, they're not going to kill its their cash crop. As this actually the second season they switched the title. It's actually the Baby Yoda show.
Mm-hmm. It's the child featuring Mandalorian.
Correct. But yeah, no, I'm excited to see what they're going to bring for season 2 because the show was great. I mean, And it gives us a lot of hope for the upcoming shows as well, because the best
does.
episodes of this were directed by Deborah Chow, who will be the director of the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. And yes, apparently it is still happening. They just wanted to rework the script because it was too similar to The Mandalorian in setting-wise.
Yeah, I guess, another desert planet lone guy. I mean, I guess, but I don't
And
have
he
a
was
complaint
taking
with
care of
that.
a child, technically. He was looking after Luke Skywalker, a child.
Yeah, but it's not like it's going to be Obi-Wan and like 5-year-old Luke driving around Tatooine.
True, because he has to work in the shadows.
Yeah. But yeah, another thing I wanted to mention is this show, even though it didn't really have to, this show showed more of how the New Republic works after Episode 6 than any of Episode 7 did, which is just mind-boggling.
Yeah, and it actually showed like the true aftermath of the Death Star crashing,
Yeah.
or Death Star 2 crashing, like the actual repercussions. Like, what did the majority of the Empire stormtroopers do after? What did the Imperial officers do when they didn't have a paycheck to hold them by?
Yeah, like that shit's actually interesting. Some form up and have their own mercenary groups. Some try to the Moff character toward the end, who seems to be like declaring himself his own leader and trying to rule a certain part of the galaxy. Like all these different factions that have developed since the fall of the Empire, but still in conflict with the New Republic and just mercenaries like the Mandalorian. It's just it is an interesting to see, much more interesting than a new rebellion versus the First Order. Was there any negatives that you had to it?
Not really. I mean, the most negative thing is the second episode because it was a little bit slower, but that's what showed
Mm-hmm.
that Baby does have force powers.
Yeah, I mean, because before I watched this, I mean, you watched them as they came out, but for me, I saw some complaints about the middle episodes being like, oh, this it's gone downhill. As someone who binge watched it, I never had an issue with it. I like the classic Western like single stories for each episode for most of it, and I thought it was fine.
Yeah, it works
Yeah,
very well.
I thought it worked because plot wise it made sense. He had to go into hiding, he had his own adventures, and then came back and finished the job. It makes sense. If I had to name a complaint, I can't really. It's hard.
Yeah,
It's hard.
you gotta really think about it, and trust me, we've been thinking about trying to come up with a negative for it, and it's just
Yeah,
not really
like
popping up.
give us some more. We can go back to episode 9 if you want to complain, but like this show basically, I feel didn't have that much expectation, but it hit a home run after a home run, and for Disney they must be super excited. Baby Yoda is giving them a shit ton of merch. They have a season 2 for the show, and they even said, at least for now, for next year or two, it's all TV shows for Star Wars. It's not movies. So, which I guess leads us into the next part, which is Disney Plus. The Mandalorian, I think we both agree, is a very important show, not just for Star Wars, but also for Disney Plus as a whole.
Correct, because that's kind of what Disney Plus is pretty much surviving on right now as far as new content.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And quarterly numbers came out, which is the first quarter since Disney Plus started, and they're at around 26 million paying subscribers. So The Mandalorian did its job because between that and the other new live action content, people signed up for Disney Plus. It is now up to the job of the season 2 and the other Star Wars shows, along with Marvel, to keep that going. So I think a question I'll throw to you, Mike, is now that they know there's a future for this, how long do you think they would keep The Mandalorian on?
Um,
Talking 3 seasons, 5 seasons?
I want to say at most 4 to tell a complete story,
Okay.
because, but I could see them easily doing it in 3 seasons. But do I think they're going to stop at 3? Probably not, because they already set up the main villain for next season,
They
which
did.
is Moff Gideon, which we're going to have to do some spoilers here, was holding the dark saber. Now, for many people that don't know, there was only one Mandalorian Jedi in history, and he held what was known as the dark saber. It's not your traditional Jedi blade. It's more, the blade comes out in more of a sword-like appearance, and it is black with a white aura around it. It is somewhat legendary. Now, the importance of Moff Gideon having it being we know the Mandalorian and him are going to come head to head, and it'll probably end up in the Mandalorian's hands.
Yes. And then
Yeah.
I guess when he gets it, he would be called the Mandalorian, right?
Correct. And
Okay.
then potentially for a third season, we could introduce, I don't know, probably like a Sith acolyte, something like that. Now that he has a dark saber, something along those lines. Who knows?
Oh, see, I was thinking maybe the trying to find the species of Baby Yoda would be the main plot of season 2, and in season 3 would be Moff Gideon comes back around as the main villain, and then that's when the finale is the Mandalorian takes the darksaber. Because I feel if you like you said, unless you bring in a Sith-like character, I don't feel you should waste Moff Gideon in one season.
Yeah, but I feel like he's gonna have the whole season. Like the Mandalorian's not gonna get the dark saber until like the very last episode. It's
I
gonna be
guess,
like
yeah,
one of those things. So like
yeah.
Moff Gideon will have his entire season of hunting the Mandalorian down. And we do know Darth Maul is actually no, he's not around anymore.
No, he's not.
Damn.
He died right before episode 4, so not a win. It would be cool considering the stuff he puts the Mandalorians through in the Clone Wars, but yeah.
Yeah. Trying to think of like another Sith that would be around at that time, but we don't know. They could always make one.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Another
mean,
pawn of good old Sheev.
or maybe some leftover Inquisitors from the Empire era, since they been pushing that in Rebels and in the Star Wars game.
Yep, I could see that happening.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, obviously the Mandalorian. Right now, everyone enjoys it, and everyone loves Baby Yoda. But I really do think 5-10 years from now, when we have more time to look at the Disney era of Star Wars, the Mandalorian will be a bright spot.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that.
Like just watching it, at least for me, it and like the writing's fine. Like the writing's not fantastic. Like it's not deep, but it's just simple fun, simple Star Wars fun that I had as a kid watching Episode 3 or watching the old movies, and I didn't really get with the new Star Wars movies. So, my hats off to Jon Favreau, who I feel at this point Disney should just give him his own building or office or whatever. I mean, started the MCU with Iron Man, you know, did live action movies, Jungle Book, Lion King, and now saving Star Wars. I mean, come on.
Yeah, the guy is essentially the real J.J. Abrams.
He is their J.J. Abrams. And yeah.
Well, because J.J. Abrams was given the franchise thinking he was going to make it great. And, I mean, I guess he did his best.
I mean, I guess.
It's clear Jon Favreau's kind of got a knack for Disney, knows how to make Disney work into things that Disney necessarily wouldn't work into.
Yeah. Obviously, they love him enough to keep giving him these opportunities. They trust him enough with it, and so far it's paid off. But I think that'll be it for this week's episode. Obviously, not a super long episode, bit of a quiet week, but we will be back next week with our Oscar results. We'll see how that goes. But until then, Mike, if anyone has thoughts about Mandalorian, where should they let us know?
Well, if you guys have any comments, negative comments about the Mandalorian, you can keep them to yourself. If you want to share some other stuff, feel free to email us at entertainmentexpansion@outlook.com. If that doesn't tickle your fancy, come on down to our Instagram page, which is properly labeled Entertainment Expansion. Send us a direct message, put a comment under the last post, and finally, you got to check out our YouTube channel. We've got tons more videos that I think you guys are really going to like. And as always, we will read out your comments on the air.
Yep, as always, we always do that. And yeah, our YouTube channel is the main spot to get some great audio and visual representation of what we talk about. But that'll be it for this week's episode of Entertainment Expansion. Thank you for listening, and see you next week.